Hi there. I just want us to consider this situation. Let's say a husband come home from work very exhausted, very tired, possibly due to the demands of the work. And the wife looked at him and said, "You didn't call me like you said you would." Maybe the husband promised that, "Oh, I'll call you, I'll let you know," but he didn't. And when the wife asks this, this is simple question and it can be a start of a simple conversation. However, due to the demands of the work and how draining the man is as well, he may end up saying that, "Oh, I have been busy all day. Do you know how many meetings I had? Besides, you could have called me too." The room becomes tense. And what started as a simple statement about a missed call could quickly become an argument about efforts, appreciation, communication, and who was stressed and whatsoever, blah, blah, blah. And later in the evening, neither of them can even remember what the original situation was. Does this sound familiar? Maybe in your marriage, maybe with your children, maybe at work, or with a friend. The reality is that sometimes a conversation starts with a concern but ends up with a defense. Not because we are bad or not because we are selfish, though we all have an element of selfishness within us, but because somewhere inside of us we heard an accusation when the other person was simply expressing a need. Welcome to the Streams of Emotions. My name is Moses. You can call me Mo for short, and I'm really glad you are here with me again. Today, we are looking at a very important subject, and that is defensiveness. Why some conversations feel like an attack. Why is it that some conversations feel like an attack? I've come to realize that one of the greatest challenges in human relationship is that people don't always hear what is said. You see, you may say something, but another person will hear something different. Let's go back to the situation that I mentioned earlier. The wife just said, "You forgot to call." Really, what the wife could have possibly meant was that, "I missed you. I was worried. I want to feel important to you." But let us look at how this same situation may mean to the husband. He may also understand it like, "You are irresponsible. You are a bad husband. You are failing me." It's the same words, but it meant differently. So it's not necessarily about what people hear, but it's also about what goes inside of them. Two completely different conversations. And that is where defensiveness begins. There is one conversation happening with our ears, and there is another conversation happening inside our heads. And many times, those two conversations are not the same. That is why I have said that one of the greatest challenges in human relationships is that people don't always hear what is said. They don't. And this thing doesn't really look like a problem because it is the way our brain has been structured to kind of defend us. It's a survival instinct, it's a survival response. So our brains are designed to protect us from threat. And emotional threats are just like physical threats. And whenever there is a threat against you physically, your brain will do everything to protect you against it. That is the same thing when it comes to emotional defense. When we feel criticized, rejected, embarrassed, or judged, our brain begins to develop some defense to ensure that it doesn't harm us because it sees it as an attack. It sees it as a perceived threat. The reality is that threats can feel real even when no actual harm is intended. Okay, even when no actual harm is intended. That is why when someone say that we need to talk or can we talk, all of a sudden anxiety begins to build up in you and you began to develop what the person might be wanting to do, and you have so many thoughts here and there. You haven't heard the conversation yet, but your defensive system is already preparing for battle. That is it. That's usually what happens. I want to bring this even to our workplace. Let's say that a manager can tell you, a supervisor can tell you that, or revise this report. And right away, what you hear is not revise this report. You hear that you are not competent, you are not good enough, you always get mistakes, you are always messing up. Once again, one thing was said, but the conversation in your head is quite different from what was said, and this creates problems. So you sometimes say, "Oh, I spent this amount of time working on this project and this supervisor don't appreciate me." No, no, no. is all a defensive mechanism that we are building to protect ourselves from that feelings of being incompetent. When you talk about defensiveness, it's not that very loud as some may think. So some may think, oh, when you are defensive, that means you are shouting at others. No, not necessarily so. Sometimes defensiveness just means constant explanation. You are always explaining yourself. Whenever we ask you anything you want to explain yourself, you are treading on the journey of what? Defensiveness. Sometimes we make so many excuses before even trying to understand what the person is saying, making excuses here and there. These are all walls of defensiveness, blaming circumstances. These are all times when we are defending ourselves. We want to protect our ego, we want to protect our integrity, we want to protect ourselves. And there is even other parts of defensiveness when we withdraw completely or we just remain silent. These are all forms of defensiveness. And the cost of it is that it often damages connections in the long run. Though, in the short run, it may seem as you are protecting your ego, you are protecting yourself, but in the long run, it damages connection, relationship. And this is one of the reasons why John Gottman, found defensiveness to be destructive in relationship. And he emphasized that it blocks productive problem solving and often escalates conflicts instead of resolving it. Let's look a bit further into John Gottman's research. And John Gottman find out four main patterns that seems to distract relationship, and one is criticism, and he talk about contempt, stonewalling, and defensiveness. And we are looking at defensiveness, and these things serve as predicators of relationship, and it can affect the satisfaction or stability of a relationship. However, when it comes to defensiveness, which is our focus, you realize that whenever people learn to replace defensiveness with responsibility and empathy, they tend to have a more healthier and a more resilient relationship. That is one of the focus of John Gottman's research. So he emphasized that the antidote of defensiveness is taking responsibility, even if it's only for a part of the problem. It might be a minute part of the problem, but when you take responsibility, it shifts the attention from defensiveness to resolving the situation. So sometimes your partner or the one that you are having a conversation with, the tone might be harsh, the person might be wrong, not entirely true, but there may always be that grain of truth that when you admit your role that you need to play, it can turn the situation around. For example, your partner may say that you never take the trash out. You know that isn't the case. So instead of replying, I have been working 10 hours a day, it's not fair to blame me for this, and I pick the trash out, why are you saying that I never do that? Which you are also right. But you can handle it in this way, using an accepting approach. You are right. I forgot to do the trash this morning. I know it piles up and I'll take it out right now. So when you do this, you weren't defensive and you try to solve the problem. Let's look at other practical ways that we can reduce defensiveness. Usually, when you're having conversation with people, ask yourself, am I listening to understand or am I preparing to defend? And when having conversation with people, try to let them help you understand the situation. Tell them, oh, tell me more about the situation. Oh, you are right about this part. I am sorry. These small sentences can completely change the direction of the conversation. Remember, listening doesn't automatically mean agreeing. It means valuing the relationship enough to understand first. Thank you for joining me on Streams of Emotions. And this has been episode 17, Defensiveness, Why Some Conversations Feel Like an Attack. As we move through this week, remember this. Not every difficult conversation is an accusation. Sometimes it's an invitation to listen more deeply, understand more clearly, and connect more genuinely. Until then, learn about your emotions, listen to them, and use them productively instead of allowing them to manipulate you. Have a wonderful time and take care of yourself.